in the sense that I had to take my class from IIM Calcutta campus because I had a class till now, MBA class, and I did not have the time to return to the campus, to my office in Strategy Academy. So can you just confirm to me, can you hear me, can you see me? Some of you, can you just please confirm, can you hear me, can you hear me, can you see me? Of course, my control room is saying yes, both. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prashun and others. Thank you so much. Suhas, thank you so much. It's good that you have come here today. We have, of course, a large number of people showing interest, and we decided to deal today's session in a slightly different way. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. I'm so delighted to have all of you here. And the topic is very interesting, and I thought that today let me use it. We have got people who have already registered for a program, and there are many other people. It's something new I'm going to talk to you today. And depending on how it goes, you can decide to think about your next action. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a slight difficulty here because I'm speaking from my here in iPhone. Normally I don't do, but today I'm forced to do it because of the fact that I could not return back to the campus. So you may have some problem with audio and video, but I'm sure you please caution me, and my control room is there to help you and also help me how it's going. Thank you very much for joining. I can see Gaurav from HPCL. I can see everybody else. And also Suhail is attending from Calcutta. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Quickly run through today's agenda. Those of you know me is all right. Those of you who don't know, you can see I'm Ranjan Das. I'm a professor at IIM Calcutta since 1994, and of course also at Strategy Academy. And you can see clearly how many institutes I have taught in the past. So that's it, and I also have a 20 years corporate experience. I worked as general manager, as managing director before deciding to switch my career to academics in 1994. And the Strategy Academy is an outcome of research that I did. Before I go to the next slide, this is the beginning that I thought to tell you. And this program is called Industry Analysis, Future Industry Evolution, and Adopting and Identifying the Options Available to Succeed in the Future. I now go to the next slide, and the next slide is a big information about Strategy Academy. I don't need to talk a lot about it. Essentially, it's an academy set up 10 years ago, and which is, this academy is an outcome of an action research which has since presented and published in the United States in 2013, and I have got all the information you can make out. More than 60 companies have used Strategy Academy's services to run all kinds of programs, but today is not the day for talking about it. One of the unique things our academy has is what we call a unique learning process, and I'll talk about that later at the end of the session. I'm going to talk to you about a complete different subject today, the reason for which I have invited you to join this session on industry analysis. I'm sure all of you know that the world is changing rapidly, and in most industries there's a fiercely competitive market, and I've given you some examples. I have a typical example of a fiercely competitive market. You can see the mobile telecom industry, you can see insurance, you can see steel, you can see many industries. We have these characteristics, and I'm just giving an argument why you need to think about industry analysis in greater detail. Now, some of the characteristics of the current changing world of business is that high customer power because they have too many options. I'm not surprised, and particularly if you ask me, I'm very, very happy that customers have got too many options, because given that situation, I can now go to a customer and talk to him because his mind is open to look at new options. I also can see the undifferentiated products and services. Even if you have a demand, if you have a product which is absolutely new, within no time it will be copied very soon and it will become undifferentiated. So you have to be like an Intel or 3M and Apple to change your product every 6 months. That's the kind of business you are in, and if you're not able to do, you are in a big trouble, ladies and gentlemen. We also know that in many industries today, we have substitutes available freely, and you really have to fight to survive because your product will be substituted. You know the best example of how organized retail got substituted by online thanks to the smartphone, and it's happening in every industry. Demand is less than supply in many industries today. The capacity is overcapacity, and the people have a serious problem. The companies have a serious problem in marketing the product because demand is less than supply. And of course, high exit barriers and low entry barriers. Generally speaking, such kind of industry we call highly unattractive because most industries don't make money today. There's a hyper competition because of excess supply. And given that situation, we come to the next slide, and there's something else is happening, and I'd like to talk to you. This something else is very interesting. You add to that what I call, you add to that the seriousness of the changing world of business in terms of the fiercely competitive market. Now you add to this the new development. Today is not a day to talk about these few things, but I'm just reading out just for your information. Essentially, I'm going to argue that it's time that you acquire skills in industry analysis. You acquire skills to forecast how industries are going to evolve. You acquire skills to decide what kind of strategy will help you to flourish in the future, not present, not in the past. So some of the developments is becoming a sharing economy. So Airbnb, without having a single hotel in its portfolio, is world's largest hotel company. Or another example of sharing economy is Uber. Without having a single taxi, it has become the world's largest taxi. That's something is happening. Even the Strategy Academy is the outcome of a sharing economy. We have got every resource shared with something else which is already existing for another purpose. And that's a new development. Now, how do you factor that in your industry analysis is a subject by itself, and that's what we will talk about it. We also have seen emergence of Internet of Things. As a matter of fact, I should not call Internet of Things. It's called Internet of Everything. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, artificial augmented reality and virtual reality and robotics. I'm not discussing this today, but these are already affecting industry. My question is, how do you analyze the impact on the industry? How do you analyze impact on competition? How do you analyze in terms of impact on future industry evolution? And that's the main thing we have to talk about. So the next development is the greater emphasis on transparency of all kinds of transactions. People do not want anything under the table, and increasingly people are saying, I won't do business with companies which are having not transparent portfolio services, not clear whether ethically right. So that has become a new development all across the world. It started from Enron in 2003, accentuated with WorldCom in 2006, and it's going on and on and on. Next is coming up is a cryptocurrency and a blockchain. Blockchain is actually helping in more transparency. Blockchain actually is going for another thing, is leading to what you call disintermediation. Can you see clearly? Even central banks are not required. You don't require banks, you don't require central banks, and in many industries. Recently we have a session on blockchain where I'm arguing that if cryptocurrency and the blockchain technology really picks up, the bitcoins really picks up, the time is coming when many agencies, the regulatory authorities, we won't need it because it's a peer-to-peer network. We also have focus on evidence-based management, essentially business analytics. There's no place today for doing analysis based on guts. I'm not saying guts are bad, but what is going to happen is that guts must be applied, or the gut feel must be applied only after common sense must be applied, only after you have done analytics. We have got Professor Satyagiray was sitting here, and I was talking to me yesterday, and he's saying, Professor Das, things are changing so fast, it is going beyond common sense. We have to do all kinds of analytics, and that's a new development. Industry analysis, when Michael Porter did sometimes in 1981, and industry analysis today in 2018 are vastly different. It's not just in terms of concept only. In the way you handle data, in the way you come to a conclusion, it's something very, very different. So that's the development. The companies which are very good in analytics, companies who are very good in all kinds of development, they stand to gain more compared to the companies which are not as good as they should be like. There's also a question of stress on better governance, which is coming out of transparency, the data security and cyber risk, of course. More information technology coming in, we are getting into a more cyber risk, and on the kinds of things that happen in the case of Cambridge Analytica and Facebook, also are realities of current day, and all these are hinting towards only one thing. We need a better analysis of the future. Now that brings me to the question, and a very important question, why do we need to bother about industry analysis? I must tell you, industry analysis is done at three levels. One is as on date, as is basis, 2017-18, for example, a snapshot. You understand the attractiveness of industry, the forces driving it as on date. But that itself will not give you anything because there's a snapshot, a static snapshot. Now suppose the industry is highly profitable, you have to go back and find out when it was last time unprofitable and what were the reasons by which the unprofitable industry has become profitable. You have to go then further back by another 5-7 years to find out when was it last time profitable. By doing so, you are going to get two timelines covered, past to the present, and they are very important ingredients to get you inside. Industry analysis is a very technical subject, but even then industry analysis is not complete. Because ultimately what you have to do is present to the future. Sitting in 2018, how 2018 to 23 is looking. And you need a special technique to do that. Between Professor Ray will be covering a lot of that in the next 12 hours or so when we have the session. But let's carry on with my issue. Why you need to understand, need to acquire skill in industry analysis, industry evolution, industry drivers, what options are available. They are so important for you in order to be successful as a strategist. Let's go over to the next item and let's see what I'm trying to say. Look at the point I'm making. I want you to read this line very carefully. All these other areas, the one is fiercely competitive and the other one is those development, are pointing to the one thing, the emergence of the information economy will profoundly impact, note down my point, profoundly impact the way the government and the private sector organization will work in the future. How societies, communities and political parties will operate. You have already seen how Cambridge Analytica was trying to influence Indian political scene. The same thing has been done in American Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. So exactly how the political parties are going to work, will operate, how industries will evolve, and finally who will win and who will lose. In other words, if you want to understand your future better in the industry where you are working, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for you. The time has come for you to understand industry analysis in totality, from the concept point of view, techniques point of view, tools point of view, and that's an important subject. So that brings me to the next question. You please ask me a question if you have anything to ask me. You'll be happy to. Yes, you'll be getting the PPT later. Sanjay will be coming back to you. But in the meantime, if you have any question, please ask me at any time. We go to the next point and say, if this is the situation that's going to happen, let's see what is that. Look at some other point I'm going to tell you. Read this line and you understand that we need, in other words, these developments are going to talk about new concept, new framework, new tools you require to better understand the future that will shape the emerging world. I want to tell you at this point of time that the concept of strategy that we talk about, you know always what is strategy you are following or what you have done in the past. What is important, of course, for us is not what you did in the past or what you are doing in the present. The real question is what you are going to do to manage the future which has not yet happened. Ladies and gentlemen, this point must be clearly understood by you. Strategy, every time you talk about strategy, you are talking about a future which has not yet happened, which means the future is a hypothesis. Future is a hypothesis, and the strategy to deal with the future is a hypothesis. But the commitments are real. But the commitments that you make in terms of organizational resources, financial resources, even your own career. In other words, you are dealing with a hypothetical future, you are dealing with a hypothetical strategy, but the commitments are real. And time will tell you whether you are right or wrong. It is for this reason, because you are dealing with a hypothetical situation, you need more tools, technique, and information, of course, all put together, and you cannot imagine the future by just common sense. Gut feel is not going to help you. I'm not saying gut feel is bad. All I'm saying, don't apply gut feel without doing a proper industry analysis. And please remember, I want to make a very strong statement at this point, why you should focus on industry analysis, future industry evolution, all tools and techniques that goes with it, only for one reason. Future is uncertain, you and I agree, and I have no objection to that. But let's make that one point clear. Future is uncertain, but it is not God-made. It's not like earthquake and tsunami. If there is an earthquake and tsunami, I can manage it by buying an insurance policy. But the uncertainty is caused by man-made. So Microsoft's future became uncertain not because of God. Microsoft's future became uncertain because of its failure to imagine the world of mobile computing. As a matter of fact, I'll actually make a lot of sense in one point when Bill Gates said, just imagine Bill Gates said in 99, this man is a failure in OS, the operating system, Macintosh, Steve Jobs, and he's now talking about mobile computing. He's so irrational. When 2008 the mobile computing came, the iPhone is essentially a mobile computer, then only I'll ask you, Mr. Bill Gates, who is irrational, you or Mr. Steve Jobs? Essentially, the future industry evolution, Mr. Bill Gates has no clue. It happened because somebody took that initiative. In other words, future is uncertain. I have no problem with that statement. But never say it is uncertainty is made by God. This uncertainty is made by another individual or a group of individuals. Each of them has one head, two hands, and two legs, and one thing more they have got. They know how to do industry analysis. They know how to do future industry evolution. They're all hypotheses. But I think when you just assume something about future, then you have a huge chance of going wrong. When you apply a technique called industry analysis, what is driving the industry till date? What is going to drive in the future? What options do I face? What should I do or don't do? At least there is a conversation, there are data exchange, there is a technique, and the chances that you do well. So this points to the fact that industry analysis is the only future that is available with you, and you better be careful, because if you learn the technique, you can handle future better. If you don't learn the technique, you have a serious problem. We now go on to the next slide, and I assume that you have no question, please, and let's have a look at my question to you. Now that I've told the background, why do you need to learn or acquire skills in industry analysis and future industry evolution? And I have given you a few arguments. And the one argument says you learn analytical frameworks and tools. You cannot work by common sense. You cannot work by common sense. I'm not saying common sense are bad, but I'm saying common sense are actually applicable only when you have first done your own analysis. So one is you learn, when you talk about industry analysis, you acquire skills in doing industry analysis. The second is you also know general analytical frameworks and tools for analyzing industry in different industry settings. So one is Michael Porter's framework or some other framework that came. The other is how do I apply to different industries like global industries? How do I apply to traditional brick and mortar industry? How do I apply to information industry? How do I apply to converging industry? How do I apply to high-tech industry? The same framework has to be adjusted to make an assumption about how the future is going to evolve. The focus is fifth. If this is the past to the present and the present industry evolution, what is going to happen in the next 5 years? You remember when some fund manager says, you hold the share, buy the share, sell the share, you know, how do they do it? They are not God. They do industry analysis. By looking at them, they ask the question, which firm is correctly positioned, not today or yesterday, but tomorrow? What is correctly, given the industry evolution that's going to take place, which firm is the best position to leverage its resources and get a sustainable competitive advantage? And that company is going to get valuation, and hence they say hold it or sell it or buy it depending on that conclusion. The other thing that you do in this subject area is called how will industry evolve in the future? How? You know what has happened from past to the present. You know what is happening today. But history does not tell you everything. As a matter of fact, I have a famous statement to make. Those who talk about history beyond a point, they become history themselves. Those who talk about history beyond a point, they become history themselves. I respect history. I draw insight. But industry analysis is not about replication of the past. Industry analysis is all about take that insight into being, still do a thinking like this and say what's going to change and not going to change. And that's a call you have to take. But don't take that call based on what I call judgment, what I call gut feel, what I call common sense. The important thing is that you have to take a judgment, but postpone it till you have done industry analysis. So essentially, you also cover in this particular type of a course called industry analysis, not only industry evolution and industry driver, we also say, so what? So what here means, now that I understand which way the industry is moving, again is a hypothesis, what kind of competitive options available to exploit. You have seen what happens when Reliance Jio came. They came in a complete data space. They never invested for the SMS and voice space while Airtel and the Vodafone and the Ideas were focusing on something of the past. Because they went completely wrong that the world, India and the worldwide, the market is moving towards data and data and data, and the SMS and voice are becoming less and less. So investing like a stupid on SMS and voicemail to make it more modern and up to date, I think they wasted money and time because they did not understand market is moving away, and that's an important thing. Same thing with Microsoft. They did not understand the industry evolution. They did not understand that laptop is actually like becoming like what you call, or the PC is becoming like what was landline in early 90s. Nobody knows your landline number because it's completely out of tune with a new way of lifestyle. So you have to understand which is going to drive your industry. So all these are reasons why, to get a better grip on the future, for which you need also get a grip on what is happening today and past. So 3 timelines: past to the present, but the most vital one is present to the future. And industry analysis tells you how to do an industry analysis, whether it is past to present or present to future. But the most important thing, it tells you what you need to do given that future industry evolution and how to be successful. I know one cannot say what will happen in the future, but at the end of the day, you still have to do it. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you are understanding what I'm trying to say, that a very strategic importance of industry analysis. Now, you might ask me a question, where does industry analysis fit into overall strategy development process? And I have a point to tell you that. Where does exactly industry analysis strategy? Now, let's have a quick look at a slightly bigger picture. This discussion is going on around industry analysis, but you must understand the context of industry analysis. Industry analysis is a part of a strategy process of a business. That strategy process has got 2 main segments: strategy development process and the strategy implementation process. In reality, they happen side by side, while teaching, to get a conceptual clarity, we talk about these 2 separately. Now, strategy development process, there are 2 parts. One is strategic analysis to create options, strategic options, what to do, and other is how do you evaluate those options. This strategic analysis is done part of strategy development process, and the strategy development process is a part of strategy process. Now, the strategic analysis itself has got several parts. Look at strategic analysis. There are 5 major strategic analyses, and one of them is industry and competitive analysis. When you talk about industry analysis, you are talking about industry and competitive analysis. Industry and competitive analysis, but never lose the big picture. It's part of a strategic analysis. To develop strategy, you've got to have strategy development process, including the 5 analyses, of which industry and competitive analysis is the most important and the common part. Other parts are political regulatory aspect. The third part is resources and capability analysis. You must know what you are good at, organization and culture, and of course stakeholders' expectation analysis. Now these are part, and you can't go to a strategy by doing only industry analysis. But if you ask me as a strategist, and the oldest one in the country, I can tell you of all the 5 analyses, I'll do all the 5. Of course I'll do all the 5. But if you ask me which one is the most dicey one, is the one, industry and competitive analysis, because you are competing against the big boys of the industry, and many of them are better than you, whether it's resource combination or probably in terms of sheer intelligence or understanding about what's happening and why. Now have a look at this picture. Now the big picture, how you make the strategy. Look at the flow chart. I told you the 5. The strategic options are generated out of 5 analyses. Strategic, what you call stakeholders' expectation, that gives you goals and vision. There's the political regulatory aspects of the business, the press. There's the ICA, industry and competitive analysis, which is called industry analysis. The RCA, the resources and capability analysis, and OCA, organization strength, cultural analysis, which gives you strength and weakness. They all together gives you strategic options, and the industry analysis focuses only on the word ICA, industry and competitive analysis. That one is the real big thing, that ICA, industry and competitive analysis. This is a hugely popular course in Harvard Business School. I teach that course in IIM Calcutta. Even today, I could not go to my office because my IIMC Calcutta second year class ended at 7:35, 7:40, and I did not have time to go back to my office. Hence, I'm taking this class from IIM Calcutta itself. And look at this. This ICA has to be done at the 3 level, past to the present, present, and present to the future. Past to the present and present will give you insight. What happened, why happened, and why not something else. Repeat what I say. Let's see. Past to the present and present will give you what happened, why happened, and why not something else. But it's still incomplete, man. We still have to look at what's going to happen in the future, and you can't be like a bazigar. I know it is taking, I know it's hypothetical, I know it is uncertain, but one thing is clear, it is not made by God. So application of industry drivers, application of industry analysis tools and techniques, application of analytics, you apply everything, you reduce the zone of lack of information. To my mind, 80% of uncertainty can be covered by applying industry analysis about the future. The remaining 20% will remain uncertain, and I think that's a good news. Because when things are uncertain, 20% you can take care by taking action, others can't do it. Certain uncertainty is good, like share, like forward cover, you should not go for 100% forward cover to manage currency trading up and down. I'll not do ever in my life more than 80% cover, 20% I'll keep it open because things should be uncertain. In other words, industry analysis will help you understand the future, not only the future better, it will also make your future fairly certain to you, not to others, because you are the strategist, and you have to learn the technique very carefully and consciously, okay? So, can you see clearly the entire strategy process? And the focus area on industry analysis is ICA, Industry and Competitive Analysis. Let me see if you have any question, please, and what should be your view on Indian banking industry? Going for a toss, Gaurav, Indian banking industry. NPA, I'm not saying that's a hackneyed, everybody's talking about NPA. The bigger issue is that customer has got too many options. I don't need to go to bank. I can get the same job done in many ways. And with the blockchain thing that I just taught a few days ago, when I gone to the paper, the way blockchain is coming, many other banks will not believe. Banks are just at a wholesale kind of a stuff between customer and the guy who is paying and the guy who is receiving, and they are just validating documents in a peer-to-peer network like blockchain. You'll soon realize that you don't need banks. Banks have to really gear up properly, and this kind of thing, the proper introduction of information technology-based assets and all kinds of online systems, there's a lot of work need to do. And the bank is just one way of funding. You can fund your operation now in a variety of ways. For example, we had before 90s, the only option to fund your working capital and term loan was ICICI, IDBI, and a little bit of working capital from commercial banks. Today, they're one of the options. They're flush with funds. On one hand, there's the NPA problem they can't give. On the other hand, customers don't come to them. You can go to for example, ECB, external commercial borrowing. You can do GDRs and ADRs. You can do foreign currency loan. You can all kinds of things you can do. I know there are risks involved. There are currency risks. There are asset credit risks. There are interest risks. But a whole lot of things are happening. But so the banks have to really fight with other options with the customers have got, and they have to be really fast. You can't have your banks closed for 5 days continuously for all kinds of stupid things. The people say, why should I go to bank? And increasingly people like me, we don't go to the bank at all. We don't need to go to the bank at all. If customers don't go to the bank at all, then why should I need the banks? There are many other ways you can get the transaction done. Many other ways we can do many things. So I think you have to be careful, and this is what kind of question Gaurav will be asking when you talk about future industry analysis. And somebody should say, this has changed, what will not change? Please remember, don't get me wrong, that everything will change. That's a wrong statement to make. Not everything is going to change. For example, Newton's law of gravity is not going to change. Sun rising in the east will not change. Mother-in-law, daughter-in-law syndrome will not change. 9 months pregnancy cycle will not change. Customer asking for faster and faster delivery will not change. Customer asking for give more and more discount will not change. But the way you do the business is going to change. And I mean, don't be surprised if customer says, I want in 5 hours delivery. You better go and find out. But you have to find out which is going to dominate customer's thought process or competitor's thought process in the next 5 years. Don't get carried away or don't undermine customers' ability to change, or don't undermine competition. Industry analysis will tell you exactly where to focus on, including, is there a profit pool? That's a technique we use in industry analysis. Is there a profit pool where I should focus? Is there a profit pool where customer's power is less? Is there a pool where I can make more money compared to other activities of the value chain? The whole lot of thing will run, and when Professor Satniki Ray, who is sitting here today, I'm just making him wait, he'll take over from me in a few minutes' time, and he'll tell you an overview continue. But his real technique you will learn, and we have got lots of Harvard Business School cases coming up in this program, and you will see lots of things will be coming, latest techniques and tools, and we'll be talking about, including how the game can be played in the future. He'll bring a concept of a business game, how the game can be played in the future to change the game plan of your competitors. Okay, right away, we go to the next item, and let's see what we are saying in the next slide. So giving this importance of industry analysis, and of course I'm a strategy professor, being the oldest person in the country in the field of strategy, but if you go by the year of PhD, as the oldest man, I think it needs a specialized handling. Specialized handling, I've carefully chosen the topic based on my 41 years post-qualification experience and total 44 years of experience of 20 years corporate and 24 years as professor come consultant, and last 11 years also as an entrepreneur. I've chosen carefully topics of industry analysis, how industries evolve in the future, how do you identify opportunity to shape, and of course, this is the important thing, a 4 weeks. Though it's a 4 weeks program, actually, the number of sessions are only 6 sessions. We believe that attending classes is only one part of the story. A lot of things happens outside the classroom, so it includes not only the class by the faculty, it also includes a lots of submission, lots of group work, lots of presentation, and all happening over this 4 weeks period. Because you can't learn anything only by listening to the faculty. According to me, only 1/3 is faculty, 2/3 is self-paced, your own discipline learning process. So that brings me to the question, that brings the question, this program, this industry analysis is all about for working executives, self-employed people, consultants, and faculty members, including faculty members, mine. And those of you are profit center head, for example, Gaurav, you are in indoor, probably handling loops or handling something else. You can apply, please remember, industry analysis is not for application at a managing director's level. An industry analysis technique can be applied by an area sales manager, Bhopal, for a product called loops. As a matter of fact, my experience shows, both as a practicing general manager and MD and a consultant and a professor, more you become granular, you understand? More you become granular in terms of your product market scope, you are able to see your customers better, you can able to see your suppliers better, you can able to see your substitute better, you can able to see your what you call new entrants better, and of course rivalry and the complement. You can see the game is being played, how it's opening up. Professor Ray, I've requested him to talk about how the business will be game will be played in the coming years in certain industries, and you will see clearly the only thing can help, because after all future has not yet happened, the only thing that can help you is industry analysis. So the content of a typical industry analysis course, these are MBA, this is my MBA class at IIM Calcutta, this is the same thing they cover in Harvard Business School, structural analysis of the industry and structural analysis within the industry. Have you seen that the two statements? There's only one difference, off and within. Huge difference, off and within. That itself will take care all the time to cover what is structural analysis of the industry and structural analysis within the industry. Industry evolution, industry drivers, so to understand where the future, where from the industry came, where it is now, where it is going. And finally also special issues in fragmented industry, growing industry, emerging industry. At this point of time, I must tell you that many of you come from leather industry, you come from hardware industry, you come from insurance industry. Your question comes, how do you customize it? My answer to that question is, because the techniques are taught in a comprehensive way, in a what you call industry neutral way or agnostic way, because you do lots of case studies, you can do it. Rest of the thing what you can do, you can send me a question, you can call me. Suppose you are doing something on leather, and we are not doing a leather case. The techniques will remain same. I'll ask the same stupid question that I'll ask a man who is doing on insurance or steel manufacturing. But then I'll help you find out what is the special you have to do in leather industry case to come to an understanding and grip which way the leather industry is going to evolve in the next 5 years. So techniques will not change. What will change? Application, data, perspective. So we are talking about a generic technique called industry analysis, industry evolution, and then a case discussion and all these things. The next is you look at the duration is called 4 weeks. It looks at 1 month. It's actually 1 month because it includes 3 things. One, that faculty conduct a session of 14 hours, including these 2 hours today, 14 hours, including 2 hours today. Today is more of an appreciation and the scope area, and it includes the self-paced learning. That's a huge work. Self-paced learning and various submission. The whole thing is controlled by the Strategy Academy because we have got submissions and everything, presentation, all scheduled. So like you schedule a faculty class on, say, Tuesdays and Fridays, there will be also scheduled on what's going to happen on Monday, what's going to happen on Wednesday. You can say, sir, there is no class. Yes, there is no class. That's why self-paced. But you've got to finish something because you have to submit a case analysis before the next Friday's class, like that. And of course, there's a program and exam. So entire 4 weeks is for part, you can see, 1/3 is faculty, 2/3 is self-paced and examination. Of course, the session timing is going to be twice a week, mostly weekdays, maybe Tuesdays and Fridays, sometimes weekend, but there's no uncertainty about date and time. Once it is announced, it's announced. You can block your calendar, that's it. The faculty session will be delivered exactly the way it's being delivered now, and of course, it's a highly interactive digital platform. You can ask many questions. Not many of you have asked many questions. And I see some question, I'll read some question I can see on the screen. Suhas had asked a question that should we start building a strategy around our own industry segment while we go through the session. If you think, Suhas, continuously, you ask question, please. He said, Professor, you are talking about, say, semiconductor industry. I understand. This part I can see I can apply. That part I'm not able to understand, but I have a separate problem altogether. Suhas, are you with me? Separate problem. More you do that, faculty will be interested. They'll be happy because he also has an intellectual problem to challenge. I love this thing when people ask me difficult questions because we cannot cover all industries. There are 20 people, 20 different industries. But you have to be granular, Suhas. Do not ask questions from 30,000 feet above the sea level. Don't ask questions from 30,000 feet above the sea level because in that case, your question will be very, 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 very generic. Are you clear to us what I'm trying to say? Other thing is that we have a serious assessment issue. We are going to assess you on multi-element basis. You can see clearly attendance is very compulsory. We take 4 times attendance, all surprise basis. That's 15%. Number of quality questions that you ask. You didn't ask too many questions today, I know, but probably you are trying to absorb what's going on. But in reality, you have to ask 4 good questions, and thank you very much. I see, I understand. This kind of statement will not be counted, and that takes about 25% of the attendance. In other words, attendance plus engagement level, asking questions, it will be 40% weightage out of 100. This clearly said you have to come to the class daily. Only 6 times. 6 times you will come. Only 6 times you will come to the class. Okay? But you have to do lots of submission. There is clearly said there is submission. Have you seen various submission? 20%. That makes you 60%, and the exam is 40%. We'll issue a certificate after that. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? That I can see the number of questions have come. Sanjay said, okay. Gaurav said that should we start building a, Suhas is saying that Suhas building. I answered that question. I also asked Suhas is saying, okay, yes. Prakash is saying, so how do you see detail? How do you see detail? Means what? Can you make it, Prakash? Details, sir, how do you see retail finance industry in the next 5 years? Retail finance is going to be competitive. As a matter of fact, for your information, what a coincidence, Prakash. I've been invited by Aditya Birla Finance, Aditya Birla Capital, you know that? There's a jury, there's a 4-member jury, and they have selected me. On the 21st June, I'm sitting with them to select our Retail Finance Award. So it's a surprise that you have asked me the same question. It's today's what? Today's 12th June. In 9 days from today, I was sitting in Bombay a whole day on retail finance subject. This is highly competitive. I think the mutual funds are coming in the home loans and all kinds of insurance products. Crazy things, I tell you, crazy things. And how do you manage is unbelievable. Milind saying that he's not getting, maybe your broadband has just fallen, and you just type your name in the chat box when you get it. Jai, can you help Mr. Milind to that? He has a problem. And Anand is saying, as the SSI micro manufacturing, what insight we get? Listen, Anand, I tell you one thing. Small or big, techniques are same. When Professor Ray covers it, you will understand techniques are same. Your industry is different, but the concepts are same. You have to apply it. Now, if you don't know what are techniques, you won't even apply it. If you know the techniques and you have done so many case studies, I'll say that you make a submission, like I told you, various submissions. One submission you say, application, I'm going to do that. Application of industry analysis technique in my industry. Sure, you can note down. So, and you submit. So that will be one of your submissions. Application of industry analysis technique in my industry, because you have the data, faculty gave you the concept, you apply it and send it to us, that will be part of the 20%. That will be part of the 20%. Normally we give cases, okay? That's one. You might say, Professor Das, give us one case study and give me one myself, I'll do it. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Are you understanding what I'm saying? And you decide, then you apply straight away and get a feedback straight away. Get a feedback straight away. Okay, right. Now let's see what else is there with me. I'm coming to the end of my presentation, and the next one is coming. My course presentation is over. Just tell you that we're going to use a smart learning and transformation solution that is inclusive of, very interesting. Just read out for you think this is not a part of the course, but entire program will be done using SLTS, smart learning. It combines the best advantages of conventional brick and mortar education with the best of e-learning system. Both have their plus points, we combine it. But we eliminate all the negative of both. Both have the negative point, campus-based education like the one I did in IIM Calcutta today, and e-learning. What we did, we created a third option for delivering education, and my submission to you is that this program will not only give you industry analysis technique, it will also make you that much ready to operate comfortably in the digital and SMAC world. SMAC means social media, mobility, analytics, and cloud. And this is the characteristic of the third solution that I did. All three will survive. I'm not saying only brick and mortar or only what you call only brick and mortar or only e-learning or only my solution. Quickly read it out and you can make out. It's going to be highly participant centered. So Suhas or Gaurav or somebody else want to submit industry specific note, please submit in the part of 20% using our concept and your data. It's highly integrated dual learning process. It's not like any other training program where you attend class and go home. There's a core learning process which is faculty led, and there's an individualized self-paced learning where all kinds of things happen outside the classroom. My rough calculation is 1/3 is by faculty, 2/3 by you. And we give you lots of material and cases. You'll be surprised how much material, because I have to give you material for 1 month, where a class is for only 6 classes. We'll talk about highly rigorous content and disciplined program delivery. I told you there will be a schedule of activities to control, and our office will chase you for various submissions. There are highly assessment focused. I gave you 4 items. Very experiential learning. You'll experience 21st century digital world and also SMAC world. I told you social media, mobility, analytics, and cloud. It's transformational. Do you know that? In a 1 month time, you will understand yourself better, and you will change your habits, your traits, your attitudes and motives. You will find yourself. An interesting thing, we'll give you a feedback how much you have changed in this 1 month time. That's called transformation during the course of the program. How good you are in terms of your traits. I'll give you some kind of a feedback on all this qualitative feedback beyond, of course, what I call the quantitative feedback, how much you have learned really in industry analysis. Also, we talk about 2A communication, streaming, audio, video. It's very convenient to attend. You are attending from Bombay, Delhi, Indore, Calcutta. You see, at the same time, including me, I'm not in my office. I'm in IIM Calcutta campus. We talk about the real-time interactivity. That is the other one. Other thing is that it's content neutral. So other day we talked about blockchain. Somebody is talking to me. You'll be surprised. How do you train security guard? Security guard. Housekeeping. I always say yes. Well, what's the big deal about it? Change the PPT, change the faculty. That's it. So we are talking and finalizing the deal. is device neutral. Today I brought my laptop to talk, and I am talking about a laptop, but finally what I'm doing, I'm using my iPhone. Ultimately I'm doing my iPhone. I could not use my own laptop. So it's device neutral. It's universally available anywhere. We just did a program for a PhD student who was also a professor, where there are 22 participants, 15 came from Africa and America. Can you imagine? And only 2 or 3 from India. India 2 or 3, but Africa and elsewhere in the world, including America, you have got 15 people. You can get the recording of the classes, 6 classes in case you miss it or you want to go through. You don't need any investment in physical and IT infrastructure and all these things, and you all non-value adding, from a company's point of view, all non-value adding jobs that they are turnkey implementation, cost effective and green solution. This is just for the information, this is not for the course, that this course will be driven using SLTS as backbone solution. I'm through with my presentation, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a question, I can see Uttam is asking a question. Professor Das, please announce that you have received specific queries from many of the participants. Yes, and we'll address them separately. Yes, we have received the specific queries. Uttam will be in touch with you, will be answering that question. Essentially, is a matter of customization. I gave idea to Suhash, I get idea to leather, some leather technology. I told somebody from Micro, from Chennai, that the best deal would be take up one submission, reduce one case submission, take up one submission. How do I apply what I am learning in industry analysis technique in my own industry? That will be one way to answer your question. And similarly, how do I use some of my experience in smart learning and transformation solution while doing industry analysis? So we receive a call from the team. Somebody, Uttam and others, will call you very soon. Please give your email IDs on the right so we can reply you back. Those of you who are here, would you kindly please give your email ID? Just type it out on the key box. It will help us that much kindly so that you can respond to you. If you have given it already, it's fine. If you have not given it, kindly give it. Your mobile number will contact you very soon. And thank you very much, Suhash. And with that, I come to the end of it. Now, my next session starts right at 9 o'clock. I'm almost close to it. And Professor Satyagire, he's specializing in the area of industry analysis and strategy, brilliant professor. And I've requested him to talk about some of the special industry analysis technique as applied to emerging industries, is applied to fragmented industry. Not today. Today is just a hello type. He'll broadly tell you the criticalities and other things. But as time passes, please use this skill. He's a young professor. He worked in the industry. Now he's teaching in a business school. He's a renowned professor, and he's going to be with you for this course. And I'm of course there. You can always call me at whatever time you want. And my phone number, Sumit, can you just put my phone number there on the screen, please? And you can call me in the morning time, anytime. And if I don't receive your call, put your name there. Professor Das, I will talk to you about this program, how to apply this technique, that technique, we'll talk about it. So Uttam, you can also tell them my number, they can contact me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any other question, please tell me. And right now, otherwise, I have to now go off the air, and Professor Satyagire, the real strategy professor, will be taking over from me. Any question, please? Thank you very much. So is anybody else, anyone else, any question, please? And I'll be really delighted if you kindly ask me a question. Otherwise, I'll say goodbye to you and request for a few minutes. I'll be off the air, and Professor Satyagire, he is going to be core faculty for this program. He will take you over. Thank you very much, Upal. Thank you very much, Suhash. With that few words, I'm going off the air. Thank you very much, and goodbye and good night to you all. And Professor Satyagire, wait for a few minutes.